Hey, everybody. Welcome to Mark's Backyard Birds. Several of you guys have been patiently waiting. I really appreciate that. There's a these are just great. I love these sessions. The wild bird updates. There's a lot going on all the time, and you guys are it's great for me, because we talk about things, and you guys chiming in from all around the country, letting us know kind of what the status is in your area, and I know that's helpful for everybody who joins in. And everybody is very appreciative of that, and of course, these friendships have built online for doing these over the years, and you guys saying hi to each other. I know you get used to seeing a lot of these names on here every month, and and of course, there's going to be new people joining us as well. And we always give them a few minutes to get going because that. Especially Facebook is a little bit slower for those people to be able to get on. Last month, we had technical problems, and we was it 2 weeks? I don't know, 2 months ago. I don't know when it was. Now the month. As you may tell, I am a bit flustered because I'm by myself tonight. But yeah, no Melanie, although hopefully she'll be jumping on here in a little bit. She's out in North/South Carolina with a family doing the family thing, and if she can, she's going to jump on and join us, which would be great. But be patient with me if I miss you or I don't get you up on the screen. I apologize because I'm gonna be a little bit divided, and my attention is divided. So, but we will definitely do. I'll do my best. We'll talk about birds, and we'll talk about several things that are going on right now. And of course, as always, I'll put in a plea for you to get some ideas for me for future programs and things like that. So, well, if you're new, you know that well, welcome and thanks for joining in. And one of the things we always do is, of course, ask you to check in with us and let us know where you're checking in from. My name is Mark McKellar. I am here in Kansas City, Missouri, right in the heart of the country. And so when we talk about birds, and timing, if you're north of us or south of us, your timing may be off a bit, but the if you like I said, if you've not joined in, it's really helpful because if you guys up north are saying my hummingbirds are already left, and we kind of know here when to be expecting them, and you guys to the south know there's going to be a big movement coming, things like that. It really helpful when you guys are checking in from all over. So let's see who's checking in while we're waiting on a few people. Hello, Space Ghost from Northwest Arkansas. You're a regular for sure. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not clicking on my buttons like I should, and Melanie and not even Sophie's here. Sophie's in her kennel tonight. This was the one to stay in there, so I don't have my moral support beside me in the chair here. Hi, Sandy. You've been posting some great pictures. Yes, yeah, we're going to talk about those hummers and orioles. That's for sure. We get an osprey found in the woods. I'd like to hear more about that. That's for sure. That's a unusual place for those guys. Hi, Carol. Yeah, you guys were in the store. Was it yesterday or day before? We did saw you a couple of days ago. They live real close to the store here, regular customers and bird hike people. All right, let's see. You guys are. Oh, Melanie's on because I didn't post that, so she did. So she made it. She's on in South Carolina and has good internet connection. That's always a kind of a concern down there, but hi, Steve. Yes, we're at the Cumberland Plateau of East Central Tennessee. Lots of red-headed woodpeckers. Boy, yeah, you're making people jealous in this area. Hi, Richard from New York. Yep, absolutely. Welcome in. Andrew, you said I'd see you tonight on here. Welcome in. And a regular from Cincinnati, Ohio. Yeah, yeah. A lot of us would like to have some red-headed woodpeckers. Yep, absolutely. Hey, Kurt from right up here, just down the street, not very far. I don't know if Carrie's on with you tonight or not. I hadn't seen her join in yet. Cape Girardeau, it's a great part of the country. Thank you, Brittany, for joining us tonight. Key from Houston, you're a real regular. Absolutely. Welcome in. Jeffrey Miller, hi from Jeff in the Northland. Absolutely. Welcome in. North, if you got for you out of town people, you don't know, we consider ourselves Northlanders here in Kansas City when we live north of Missouri River. So this is the Northland up here in our part of the city. That's what that refers to. Hi, Boston guy from Massachusetts. Yes, I hope everybody would be able to see that on the Facebook channel I posted. It's got a likes. He sent a great video caught on camera of his hummingbird feeder, and this hummingbird's feeding, and a little tiny moth flew above it, and that hummingbird went over and snatched that bug out of the air. And I have read some studies that suggest that up to 80% of a hummingbird's diet is insects. We just are so locked into our hummingbird feeders and think, yeah, that's what all they do is nectar. But no, they have to, especially when they've got babies, they eat a lot of insects. So that was just a great illustration. Thank you for sending that to me. Yep, she's here. Hello, love. And hopefully Morgan's watching with you too. All right, let's see. Who's this? Yeah, yeah. Sophie's got to be my stand-in. That's for sure. She does a good job, except when she starts to whine. Hi, Sue. Welcome in from right here in Kansas City. Lots of Kansas City people on tonight. Marianne Rodriguez from Northwest Tampa, Florida. Welcome in. Hi, Robin from Sinking Springs, Pennsylvania. I don't know where that is. Like I said, we lived in Pennsylvania for a while. And Richard Gint from Nanuet. Hi, Bobby. Good to see you in. Checking in from Colorado. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, you're not the only person this week that's sent me pictures of and had problems with conjunctivitis with the house finches. I really do believe this is a very bad year for it. I think our house finch population right here has exploded this year. I've got so many house finches, and that when those populations get high like that, that's whenever that conjunctivitis, once it starts to break out, it runs through them and it knocks their numbers way back. So, and Bobby's doing the right thing, keeping the feeders down for a while, get them all good and cleaned up with the 10% bleach solution. And and again, remember, when you clean the feeders, if you want to clean them, use the warm soapy water. But for the disinfecting, to kill bacteria, that 10% bleach solution is what you need to use. Even 50-50 vinegar water does not kill bacteria. So you do need to use that bleach solution. So, yep, when it breaks out, it's bad. Interesting. They all came to my house space because I've got more house finches than I've ever seen in my life at my feeders. The breeding success around here must have been really, really successful this year. We've had a kind of a wet summer, which of course is good for insects and good for plants, and it's good for them raising young. So I think I've just got a huge number of them this year. Osprey was in a state park hunting area near the Kankakee River. Okay, so it was near the river, and it flew to a tree. It grabbed a bird. I have never seen an osprey catch a bird before. I think they would almost like 100% fish eaters. That is interesting. Where it perched and looked around, posing for my camera for 20 minutes. Hey, I'd love to, if you got those pictures, post those pictures. I'd love to see that. That is an unusual catch for an osprey for sure. All right, Monday evening, the wife and I saw Cooper's hawkkill and Kazuma dove. That is their favorite food. Yes, mourning doves are prolific breeders, as I've always taught, and yeah, they have lots of babies. They're very slow and they're very meaty, and so Cooper's hawks really do take advantage of that good meal for them. Yeah, they'll eat. And matter of fact, they'll actually eat and eat and eat and eat. And sometimes they'll eat so much that it's hard for them to actually fly for a while until they can get rid of some of that. There she is. Carrie's on with us. Yep, she was off today, so we'll see you tomorrow. Yes, yep. The Orioles are starting to trickle through now. From another person from Rob from Cincinnati. All right, welcome in. Action day of feeders are empty within 2 days, and yeah, a lot of Hummer activity right now. All right, well, let's get moving here a little bit. August is a happening month. I call it a transition month. For birds, we've got nesting going on. Birds will get as many nests in a season as they possibly can. Last year, a lot of, Kurt and Carrie's yard. There were several people reported 4 successful bluebird nest in their yards last year, and that's in typical years when if it's mild enough early, when those bluebirds can start nesting early, and then even mild enough late, they'll get that 4th nest in. If it is scorching, really hot late summer, they won't usually attempt a 4th nest because it's just so hot, and the insect populations are probably lower because of that extreme heat. We've had a really very very reasonable summer here, and so lots of insects, and so the babies are having. And I know, yeah, Carrie and Kurt also feed a lot of mealworms, so that also enables these bluebirds. It gives them enough confidence so they can have another nest and raise another brood. So definitely, but a lot of birds, may nest twice this summer, but most of our migrants who come in, like our orioles and our hummingbirds and the warblers and thrushes and things like that, who have got to go back to Central South America for the winter, they only nest once, and that's coming in, and if their nest were to get disturbed early in the process here, then they could probably attempt another nest. But very few of them actually nest twice in a season. A lot of those birds are just one-time nesters, and they head back to the rainforest. Speaking of the rainforest, I'm very, very jealous. Ruth is not on tonight, but Ruth just got back from Panama, and I was looking over the list of birds that she saw down there over the last few days, and boy, I was so jealous. I really want to go, so I got to go. Those are those dream countries you want to go bird watching if you're somebody like me. So Costa Rica, Panama, a lot of Ecuador. Those tropical countries are just loaded with some beautiful, beautiful birds. So definitely going to get down there one of these days. So yes, the there's that transition, and then no bird kind of illustrates the transition, I think, and then we'll put him in here right now, are the American goldfinches. This is that time of year that all of a sudden, so just the past month, the females disappeared, and we had males at our feeders. And now the females are bringing in babies to the net back in, and you'll see them passing food to the babies, and they're teaching them where to eat. Not in my yard. I got way too many house finches, and I haven't had a lot of goldfinches here yet. I've been here since December, but right now this is what's happening. We're going to start losing the battle as far as our entertainment at our feeders to Mother Nature. You've got a lot of seed heads that are coming and getting ready to really boom with all. And like I said, would you rather eat? I always say French fries every day, all day, or would you rather go to that buffet line where you can pick and choose what you want? And so nature's buffet line is getting ready to explode. So right now the babies are coming. Enjoy it while they're there and they're feeding them, because once the real action starts out in weedy field edges and prairies and things like that, those goldfinches are going to disappear on us. And means a lot of people think that they migrate and they leave us. Well, they really don't leave. They more disperse for most of us here. Now, you guys up north, Nebraska, Dakotas, and places like that, yes, they will leave you once the weather really starts to turn. And as winds really shift out of the north and they know it's coming, and the day length tells them, and those birds will settle in down here. And so we'll have them most of the winter. And a lot of places at points far north may lose your goldfinches all winter, but down here we get more goldfinches than normal. But right now we're in that transition from seeing them to, in a couple 3 weeks, it's going to be gone. We call it the September slowdown. And we hate seeing it coming as bird feeder people, because we love feeding our birds and we love seeing our birds. Well, goldfinches are a prime example of a bird that takes advantage of all that natural food that's getting ready to come in. So I thought he was a good bird to start with tonight, because he does symbolize kind of what's going on right now out there right now. All right, let's see. Got a couple more. Yeah, yeah. I've always heard the state bird of Minnesota is the mosquito. That's for sure. 25. Man, that is amazing, Judith. You said that, you sent me an email the other day. That is amazing. I've never heard of that kind of a number of Swainson's thrushes really concentrated like that in an area. That is incredible. Yeah, I know you guys don't live that far away, so we probably share some of that stock that's successful out here. I didn't see the osprey catch the bird, but it looked like a bird. Oh, okay. Those are in my Facebook page. I'll share them. All right. Yeah, I definitely want to take a look at that. That's like I said, one of my TA in college, my teaching assistant for ornithology, was doing his graduate work on ospreys. So he was always talking about ospreys with us and things. And boy, I think of him as soon as you said that. That's right, Richard. You did his what's it called? I already forgot the name of the channel. You've got some of bird videos up on there. Absolutely. All right. Marianne Rodriguez, Mark, the bluebirds nested, had the babies and gone. Caroline chickies checking out the same box. Yeah, they will do that. Absolutely. That my old house, it was 3 years in a row that when I put my bluebird box up, the black-capped chickadees nested in it 3 years before the bluebirds were able to get in there one year and use it then. But yeah, that size nest box works great for chickadees. Absolutely. Who's had 3 broods this year and haven't seen them in a week now. I'll see them. Yeah, they may have moved out. Now, again, bluebirds are, um, you know, again, things are changing out there because of the climate, and our winters aren't as mild, and traditionally, and of course, when I was younger and growing up, the bluebirds pretty much would all leave during the harshest part of winter, and the southern states were just inundated with them during the winter months. Well, that doesn't happen quite as much as it used to. Why go any further south than you have to? So a lot of our birds may shift out and move south, but maybe not quite as far as they used to. But if we have a lot of berries in the winter here, just like the robins, they will stick around and stay in our area. So now our bird hikes are getting ready to start back up, and this is when I really start watching the soft mass crop, as I call it. The all the wild fruits that are out there, because if there's a lot out there, it usually means that we'll have a lot of bluebirds and cedar waxwings and robins throughout the winter, because that's what they settle into. If it's a real heavy acorn crop this year when we're out, that's a real good indication we're going to have a lot of blue jays and red-headed woodpeckers, because that they settle into areas. They move down out of the north. Blue jays, again, our blue jays tend not to go anywhere, but you guys live way to the north, up in Canada, in areas that are going to get covered with snow. The blue jays migrate out in places like Hawk Ridge and Duluth, Minnesota. They count hawks as they migrate and eagles as they migrate, but the other birds they count are red-headed woodpeckers and blue jays, because that's one of the things they're gauging is their movement south, which is going to tell them what's going on up north. And they pass through, and then they get to our areas and across really the heart of the country into the east and west, and they find areas that have a lot of acorns, and they'll settle in then for the winter. So you'll have a lot more blue jays than typically your nest in your area, because of that movement, and starting pretty soon. They're going to start moving now. So I like to look for the acorn crop too. Yes, you do feed lots of mealworms. Oh, Ruth made it home. I was just telling them how jealous I was of your bird list from Panama. Oh my gosh, incredible birds down there. You want to get jealous? If you love birds, do a search sometime for the birds of Panama or Costa Rica and places like that, and pull up some of those stunners. I mean, the colors just crazy. Oh, you've been in the Amazon and Ecuador week from today. Oh my! I'm jealous. You should be excited. One of my customers brought in a picture of a pleasant quetzal that he took while he was down there on a tour. Roger Troy Peterson called that the most beautiful bird on the planet. They're a pleasant quetzal, and you got to go down there to find them. They're not going to show up in your backyard here. Oh, okay. All right. That makes more sense. Okay. Yeah. You never say never and you never say always, Sandy, because we said that's my rule number one when talking about wild animals, because they'll prove you wrong. I mean, somebody will show up with a picture of an osprey attacking a bird sometime. but I've just never heard of it, in a long time. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, yeah. Ruth was back her first day back from her trip, uh, and many goldfinches here at the feeders. Yeah, and the red-headed woodpecker chases them away. Right. All right. Hello, Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Oh, it's still got hummers up there. Okay, it's good to know. All right. So another request I had about tonight for tonight's program was Sunny. They said, "Would you please help us separate the adult hummingbirds from the juvenile hummingbirds?" And this time of year that's very very topical, and so they first and foremost, if you don't know if you saw the video I put up of the hummingbird feeder I have with a camera in it, I put a compilation up, and it is amazing. It is really, really working, and I get to capture tons of little videos of the hummingbirds. But that red gorget is only in adult male hummingbirds. So, and they're the first to leave. They are the ones who will pull out the earliest, but they are really bullies and they are really fattening up right now. They will chase away anything and everything that you see tussles. You'll see the two of them in the air and forcing each other to the ground, and it's quite a show. But as soon as they're satisfied, they've gained enough weight, and the winds shift from the north for a little bit, they will fly, and they typically migrate 100, 150 miles a night and south. So adult male, adult female, stunning green back like the males, but no red gorget. Nice clean white in the stark green, an adult female. Now, when you get into juveniles, look how gray this bird is. And I know the wing blur there is a little bit, but if you look at the rump and you look up on the back, it is more gray than green. And that is really a good indication of a real juvenile bird. This bird's probably not out of the nest very long when this picture was taken. And so separating juvenile males from juvenile females can be a little bit of a trick as they age, a couple of weeks, the third week, then the males really start to show more spotting in the throat. I had one the other day I caught on camera, and it had a nice red spot right in the middle of the throat and some streaking down the sides. So but this one, if you can see it here, if you look at that back very closely, it's not nearly as gray as that other bird. So this was probably a little bit older, but it does have that gray scalloping look to it. And that the tips of those feathers and of course, it pays to be a little more camouflage when you're young like that and don't know what you're doing. But just know that, that if it's got a gorget, the red gorget has got to be an adult male. Just that bright green back with a white throat is adult female. And the young are going to pretty much always show at this stage in their life gray in the back, and it's going to be varying degrees of it, quite a bit of gray to not so much gray. That wears and the mold they will definitely be more green to totally green next year. But the throat, red stripes in the throat is starting to show up on those juvie males, and even some brighter red patches hitting where the females may have what looks like a little bit of streaking, but nothing real evident. So that's where it can be a little bit tricky separating those two. So that was requested that I talk about that tonight. So I was glad to do that. And the other part of hummingbird feeders this time of year, of course, is dealing with bees and getting those calls because the bee populations are getting to be their highest, and if they settle in onto a hummingbird feeder or an oriole feeder, it gets challenging. And by the way, I don't sell this hummingbird feeder in my store, but it was a great picture of the bee swarming all over it. Now, you guys, the regular watchers know I talk about dealing with bees and how I really promote the saucer type hummingbird feeders, the ones that are flat and they don't have the bottle with the nectar going down inside of it, because you can fill those about half full, and the bees proboscis can get down there to that. The sugar water is easy, and again, not 100% bee proof, but really, really, really hard for the bees to get there. And also remember that when that hummingbird withdraws his bill from there and he retracts his tongue in, there can always be some sugar water that drips on the outside of the feeder, and then the bees can actually get to that. But believe me, you don't get this. This is the sugar water is just right there at those ports and really easy for those bees to get to, and it can be a real problem. Now, we do carry what is considered by most people I know to be the best or most bee proof feeder on the market. These are all handmade by a docent, a volunteer in Arizona at the Sonora Desert Museum who came up with this design. And it has the little cup with a red lid on it and a small hole that the bees cannot get in, and the bee's tongue. And again, that comes back to that lesson of the hummingbird's tongue. Is it long enough? Like that, always that concern that hummingbirds do not drink like straw. They don't suck like straws. People think that with that bill, they do lap like a dog, and that is their tongue is longer than that bill, and it can get way to the bottom of that little feeder without any problem whatsoever. And again, we've talked about how there's a muscle in the back of the throat, and it pulls that tongue back in when it goes out, and they pulls it back up onto the top of their head, on the top of the skull, inside the skin, and it goes in and out, in and out. And they lap like a dog. It's pretty amazing. But no, this feeder is not too deep. They can drink from it. Like I said, she's really had really good luck. And I remember the first time I saw her at a buyer show, and a guy came up to me and he said, "I've been using that for the last couple of years." He said, "Mark, that is totally a bee proof hummingbird feeder." So we have the sulfur type feeders that do a great job. But this feeder, if you're in an area that has extreme problems with bees, this feeder is really bee proof. It's pretty crazy. So, all right, let's get back to the questions. Let's see. Where was I? Andrew. I think I was at Andrew. Yep. All right. Yeah. Yeah, Andrew had a picture that the goldfinch was drinking out of the water well in the center of on the Aspects hummingbird feeder, which is a little ant moat, and so he was drinking out of that and using that as his water source, and they will do that. Pekaflex, and it's on Roku, right? Isn't that right, Richard? A Roku channel. I don't know many people that have that. Like I said, it's new to me. All of our oaks have a lot of acorns, including the red oaks. That's a good sign. Again, as wet as summer as we've had here in Kansas City, I expect the acorns to do really well this year. You need some help from the birds of prey, do you, Space Ghost? All right. 2 large oaks in my yard. Really hoping to see more blue jays this fall. Yeah, hopefully. Again, that is a truly oak dependent species. Those, and the titmice and the white-breasted nuthatches, the jays. You need acorns to sustain those guys, or if not, they're going to move to where they are. So hopefully, you'll have a good population. Ruby throated comes into my feeder more often when it's raining. Yes, there is a reason for that. A gentleman that had a little country store down in the Ozarks that had hundreds of hummingbirds. I'm not exaggerating. And he had like 30 bird feeders outside his country store, and the hummingbirds are crazy. And he told me that he's been doing it for years. And he said right before rain, he said it is like 300 hummingbirds out there. That is not an exaggeration. It is incredible out there. He said normally he has about 100. And the Ozarks of Missouri and Arkansas are the ruby-throated hummingbird capital of the world. There are so many tiny little streams and things, just perfect habitat for them, and they breed prolifically down there. But he said, right before it rains, and that makes sense. If you're a bird that eats nectar and collects nectar, a heavy rain can wash out nectar out of a lot of flowers, and depends on the type of flower it is, whether the rain can make that kind of an impact. But those hummers come in right before rain and really take advantage of the free food. So that's why that's happening. Makes All right, Jeffrey. The finches are still here eating my sunflower plants. Yep, they. This is that time of year when you can look out and your plants have more goldfinches on them than your feeders do. Hi, Shirley. It was dated for Saturday the 24th. Where did I have that? My apologies. I did not see that. I didn't catch that. And I am not the best editor and proofer. Hello, welcome in, Lisa. You and I had traded a couple of emails this week. Male fledgling here today with 3 little red dots. That's it. That's a great indication. Wildflower garden this year and have no bees on my hummingbird or if you're providing what they want. The natural food is so much more for them. They're friendly evening. Thank you, Steve. Don't forget to hit the likes and the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Yep, educational videos. Thank you, Steve. And it does. It really helps us out a lot. Believe me. And I know this time of year we've got less viewers. Because feeders do, and there are many, many of you out there. I know, and I understand it, that don't feed during the summer months, and then they'll start feeding again in the fall, and so we do see that the viewership kind of go down, the lull during this late heat of summer, and the feeders are pretty boring except for the hummingbird feeders. Again, the orioles are passing back through. That's great news for a lot of us down here. We're getting to see orioles for a little bit before they totally disappear and head down to the tropics. Had a dry summer in Cincinnati. Yeah, it's just, if it's wet somewhere, it's dry somewhere else. Yep. That is weird. That was a typo. My apologies. Mark from Canton, Ohio, Canton, Georgia. All right. Yeah, welcome in. Great name there, by the way. All right. So here, I always like to have a conservation topic during these monthly updates, and the one I chose tonight after talking over with Mary, who is of course the conservation chair of the local borough's Audubon Society, and she said, "Why don't it's September and October and even late August are so important when it comes to bird migration. Do something about the lights out / window strikes." And this is a picture from Chicago and these birds were all killed in one night, and I think from a single building. And this truly illustrates how dangerous window collisions are for birds in migration, and especially whenever it's a rainy or foggy night. Whenever they hit it when they're migrating, it really does affect their ability to navigate. And what happens is, if there's bright lights in those situations, these birds get into that light tunnel and they fly right for it and they hit the windows and they die. And of course, I've talked about lights out before with you guys, how important it is, especially during the migration season, to keep your lights out. And one of the things I haven't talked about that Mary was great at advising me on today is to make sure that even your porch lights, even your in your house, your lights open, you should keep your blinds drawn at night so that light doesn't go outside in that nice bright way it does whenever you have your shades up and things like that, because even in that amount of light can get those birds, especially again mostly on real rainy or foggy nights, and they get caught up in that light stream and they're going to crash into that window. She said she had a person was talking to her about a gray cheek thrush that had hit their window, and she was talking to her about it, and Mary said, "You left your porch light on last night, didn't you?" And she said, "How in the world did you know that?" And yes, even just a porch light can draw them in and be a death trap for them for hitting a window. So if you work in an office building, and if your office the building cannot turn its lights off at night, like I know that in a lot, especially the bigger cities, there's been a great program, and buildings are trying to do that, especially during migration, but some can't. Well, if you can close the blinds at your office before you leave in the day, so that it's not getting that amount of light out there for them. So, just some things, because people are always asking, what can I do? The That's right. Oh, I just saw that. Thank you, Carol. I didn't know. Okay. Yes. Sorry. Carol just posted August 24 means August of 24 because now we've done over a year's worth of these. So I had to change the titles from August Wildbird Update to August the year so that whenever people search, they could be two of the same thing. So that's what that is. And underneath it, it says the date and time underneath the title, Wildbird 24 Update. I see the confusion. My apologies. That makes sense. Thank you for pointing that out. All right. So, do window strike. If you have window strike problems during the day, and most window strikes actually do occur from right at sunrise to 10 in the morning. So that is the worst window of time for them. So even that, the stickers on your windows, the UV stickers, things like that, help tremendously. So, yeah, what we can do, that's something simple. Turn your lights out during the migration period. I've talked about keeping your cats indoors, and especially during migration season. We did the shade grown coffee video this week about being able to help that way. So, all right, let's see. Any advice for great horned owl box? Well, they don't nest in boxes, Mark. They're basket nesters. They usually take over a red-tailed hawk nest and what nests that are already built. I've seen them nest in eagle's nest before because they nest so early in the season. But I can tell you that we've had instances where great horned owl's nest blew down, and we were able to go and get the nest and the owlets, put them in a wicker clothes basket, and get it back up in the tree and lash it to the limb. And the adults came back and continued to use it. So they're not going to go inside a box. So it needs to be an open type platform like that for them. And wicker baskets, great because they drain water, and if you can get them up there, they may actually use that. So. All right, let's see. Jan's Art checking in. I'm much later saying, yes, it's hard. I mean, the window strikes. Like I said, there are many groups out there that are trying to solve that window strike problem. I've read that there's certain ways that would help it. Hopefully, one day we'll have bird safe windows. The windows, the streamers in front of the windows, the dot pattern on your windows, marker. Sharpie markers drawn in a pattern on your window. There's lots of things out there, a lot of information out there. But no matter what, you're going to get a strike every so often, and we hate it, but it's true. It's what happens. Yes, my birds migrate at night. Most songbirds, which are not all birds. A lot of waterfowl, like ducks and geese and swans, mostly migrate during the day, and they use features of the land whenever they migrate. But a lot of birds at night, and they navigate by the stars and the magnetic field of the earth, and they migrate, and they will, when they first land in the morning, they're going to eat like crazy. And usually by mid morning to late morning, they're finding somewhere where they can safely roost or just take sleeps. We call it siesta, of course, with them, and they'll take breaks during the day. But they don't. It's not like they need 8 hours of sleep, anyways. There are some birds that they've proven actually sleep between wing beats, which is amazing. But some seabirds and things like that. But they're not feeding the entire day of daylight. They're taking breaks and they're resting that way, but they're catching more insects and eating, and we're trying to fatten up for that next leg of the journey. So, all right. Well, I had a creature feature for tonight, and that is I usually try to pick a species to talk about. And boy, you guys in the middle, the hard south of the country, from kind of like even southwestern Kansas, and I'll get the joy of seeing this bird. This is a scaled quail, and I remember back when I started bird watching, and I identified birds that I really, really wanted to see in the field guide, and I was learning birds. This is one of the birds that stood out to me. I was like, I really want to see a scaled quail. That is a scalloped look to them, and they run around the ground. They're cute. My friend John Hammond and I, who kind of started this journey together, bird watching together and traveling, his nickname and got me calling them cotton tops. They have this beautiful little crest or top knot on them, and they run around in the desert. They're very dry country birds, and they eat lots of different seeds, and they eat snip off leaves, and but you get a lot of their moisture that they need from that, and insects. Of course, they get moisture from insects. Here's the map. I'll show you this real quick. So you see, from West Texas up into Colorado, and in New Mexico down to Southeast Arizona. There in desert areas, this is where you're going to find this beautiful scaled quail. So if you ever get to go to that part of the world, Tucson, Arizona, Albuquerque, New Mexico, all of the different birding locations down there, be on the lookout for these guys running around out in the desert, running across. If you're riding through country roads, and they'll come scurrying across, and they'll be in coveys like most quail. In the winter months, they gather up into like 7 to 25 birds in a covey running around like that. But like all birds that nest on the ground, it's a hard life because there's a lot of predators that want to eat you when you get into your nest, and so they have to be cautious. But they're wonderful little birds. I don't know if you got anybody that's checking in from that part of the world tonight. If you've got them, if you have ever had them at your feeders, I don't know. I know like Gamble's quail come to feeders. I'm pretty sure California quail do too, but I don't know about that. That's a sight. I bet you could see them come in to your feeders down there in that part of the world. But truly a dry country bird, a unique species, and like I said, if you get the chance to travel in that part of the world, West Texas and New Mexico, Arizona, I definitely look for the scaled quail. Just a brilliant little bird. All right, let's see who's checking in now. Where are we? When will they leave you? Andrew, that is. I would think you're going to be on kind of the same timeline as we are here in Kansas City, and when it comes to about mid-September, the adult males are probably going to be leaving early in September, but you're going to get migrants coming through your area. You're going to get birds from the north of you, and we used to say here that you see a hummingbird after September 15th. Now this is 30 years ago. It would be rare, but now. We get hummingbird reports into mid-October, early October, mid-October, and straggling birds. But they're when the winds change in September and you start getting cold fronts and winds pushing out of the north, that's when you're going to lose them. So you'll see them. Typically, you'll see them leave in waves, and then you'll think, "Oh, all my hummingbirds are gone." And they go, "Wait a minute, there's one out there today." And you don't know, that may have been a local bird. That may have been a bird from 300 miles north of you, because they are going to keep pushing through. So I bet you're on the kind of the same time we are here. So look for them to start really the numbers to go down in early mid-September and then filter on out from there. Think of us albatross. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good example of that. They sleeping on the wing. It's crazy. My sliding glass doors are very tinted. Have never had a bird hit the glass even at a feeder's attached. So, yep, absolutely. And Ellie, that's part of that reason, maybe because you do have a feeder attached to that window. It gives it depth, and it gives it the bird's nose to the stair. And it shows perfect reflections of the trees and the bushes that the birds are seeing. And hummingbirds are one of the worst to crash into the windows, believe me. And they hit it full head of steam. Hi, Frontier from SoCal. There's one of my West Coast people. I know, there's always things on, and people, things to watch, and I know I'm taking you away. I know some of you guys are going to be watching this on the replay, which is great. Just know that you can always do that. So, welcome in one and all. Let's see, Richard, with all the bird feeders does not keep. Absolutely not. Richard, people are afraid of that. Now, it may keep birds from going further than they normally will, and this is a case that we're pretty confident in with birds like the evening grosbeak. The evening grosbeak used to be pretty regular down even into the deep south during the winter, and boy, it's been I bet 40, 50 years ago, that kind of just stopped. And one of the theories was that there were more people, bird feeding became really popular, and people feeding birds up in the northern tier states where they nest there and to the north. One theory was that these feeder stations in the northern tier states like Minnesota, Michigan, you guys were intercepting those evening grosbeaks, and they did not have to migrate down here this far south, and their populations are down. Period, like so many birds, but the feeders kind of intercepted them and kept them from having to go very far. But most birds that truly migrate, things like hummingbirds and orioles and tanager, neotropic migrants, they're migrating because they need insects and they need nectar from flowers and things. And so they're going to migrate, and feeders don't keep that from happening. Every so often we'll get an odd hummingbird report, of course, in December or January, and trying to keep somebody trying with a heat lamp, trying to keep the water unfrozen. There's going to be those birds. There's always late, excuse me, there are always late birds and there's always early birds. So those odd ones are going to happen. But birds migrate by instinct. They by day length is the main trigger, but also just instincts. They've done it forever, and they finally will pull out when they know it's time. And I've been answering this question for 40 plus years: is do I have to take my hummingbird feeder down to make the hummingbirds leave? And the answer is no, you do not. Should I put my feeder out in the open when migration starts because some are under a port? Well, it depends. If you don't have any flowering going on in your yard, it may be a little harder for them to find, and it may be a little bit better out in the open. But if you've got still got flowering plants in your yard, that's going to catch their eye and bring them in, and it's amazing. They're out there and they're always on the lookout, for especially red and orange flowers. So it may help, but I don't think it's essential. That's a good question. Yeah. Well, you guys had any more questions? I know we talked about hummingbirds and the differences. We talked about the orioles, be moving out, and that migration is going on right now. The things are going, how goldfinches are transitioning, and they're going to be leaving soon. So we definitely covered some different topics. So if you guys have more questions, absolutely, I got all kinds of flowering plants. Absolutely, that's the key, right there. You're welcome, Steve. Thanks for joining in, you guys. It's been a fun night, and I appreciate your patience with me with my clicking and back and forth. Thank you, Melanie, from post some things on there from North Carolina or South Carolina, that name to there. So please send in ideas for more programs. Like I said, I really want to talk about what you want me to talk about. I know that Denise, I haven't seen on tonight, sent me one about doing a more of a program on nesting boxes, especially ones that are good for roosting in winter. And that's coming up. I am going to put together some on that. I've been doing a little bit of research as to what studies show as far as what birds kind of boxes they prefer to roost in the winter months. So that's going to be coming up. But I love it when you guys tell me what you want me to talk about, because that is so important. So, well, guys, thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for your participation. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I know that you guys are trading back and forth, but it's kind of tricky when you're here by yourself, but that's all right. So thanks so much. Give us a like, give us a share. If you hadn't subscribed, please do that and ring that bell so that you get notifications when I'm on next. Sorry about the confusion on August 24th. Like I said, I didn't register with me, and that would be interpreted as date. But yeah, I didn't think about that. So you're welcome, Carol, Andrew, Brittany, to more about plants. Oh yeah, now there's two out there now. You can go back and look at. There's the one on our favorite hummingbird plants, and then the one Mary and I did a couple 2 weeks ago. I think we did the one on plants as well. We will do more in the future, but remember, native plants, plant native, seek out native plants. That's definitely important. I tried to make a roosting box last winter, so we'll love doing that. Excellent. Yep. So those cold nights, man, I tell you, they'll use those boxes. Thank you, Rooster. I really appreciate you joining in and the support you guys showed me. Love to Sophie. I'll tell her. I'll give her a hug here in a little bit. Yep. I heard a barred owl. Was so excited. Tried to wake up my husband. That's funny. Somebody, that's one request I've had is to do a program with just me doing bird sounds. And I think there's several I could do. That's for sure. Maybe put something together with that. But you know what? We're going to sign off with a barred owl call, guys. That was very popular. Woo, 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 woo. Good night, everybody.